Uganda's public service delivery is now in a fragile situation, with government failing to deliver the core services, and the question that lingers is, how did the once model for Africa get herself in such a sorry state?
If you look at how Uganda's health services are delivered, who agreed that we should deliver them in that kind of way? I'm sure that the DP probably has a different way of doing it. UPC would have a different one, and all these other political groups, including FDC. Now, what we have in place is what the NRM has decided, but it doesn't work. Now, how do you get it to function? You get it to function by, again, building consensus. Now, I'm sure that people would disagree with me, because there are people who have been programmed to think that a functioning political system is where you have political parties fighting each other and engaging in running battles in the streets. I'm sorry, I don't buy that idea. I think that what we lack in this country is a unified understanding or a unified agreement as to how to do different kinds of things.
Politicians don't really grasp this as their responsibility to ensure that the service delivery goes out. So you find LC5 chairpersons who, they're just there, they're just there. And they say, that's for those technical people. But, and that's the second problem, is that there's a disconnection between the politicians who should be ensuring and overseeing that their service delivery and the technical staff who are often just playing themselves. You have a situation that I faced when I came into office in Kampala. I had an engineer in this division who I called a virtual engineer, because I could never see him and I could never see what he did. He might have been doing something, but I wasn't really aware of what it was. And that guy was very resentful that who is this guy that is coming along and looking over my shoulder and telling me what to do? But unless we have that engagement between, say if it's an engineer on the roads, or if it's someone who's supervising education, or someone's in public health, and where the politician is aware and is ensuring and is involved to ensure that there's service delivery, then what you find is that the public sector staff, the people in local government and ministries and so on, they start first of all saying, no, you're not my boss is the PS, my boss is the town clerk. They secondly then become very slow, saying, oh no, public procurement processes, and this is an issue. And then thirdly, they then start to be corrupt and run off with the money, as we've seen in the Prime Minister's office.
Focusing specifically on the healthcare system. The healthcare system in Uganda is bedeviled by corruption, by incompetence, by inefficiency, lack of supervision, weak structures, and really generally a very weak local government system. Under this government, many health units have been constructed in the countryside. Now, whichever district you go to, and I have been to many, and I've been doing research on this issue for the last 15 years, you'll find many new health units. They haven't built many hospitals, but they have built health units. Because I think that underlying the idea of primary health care is that you start addressing people's health problems from the grassroots. Now, those units are there. Do they function? Yes and no. They function, but not in the way that they should. Now, many of our healthcare facilities don't have the basic medicines to tackle the most elementary diseases, which are even preventable. Many are understaffed because they don't have enough doctors, they don't have nurses. They are badly supervised, if they are supervised at all. The Ministry of Health here has a huge problem of failure to supervise.
We have an inspectorate of public service. How much do you hear about it? I don't know even whether the public knows. Public service has got an inspectorate which is supposed to oversee the work methods and the delivery of civil servants. Internal Affairs has got an inspectorate. Local government has got an inspectorate. Works has got an inspectorate. Ministry of Education has got an inspectorate. Health has got an inspectorate. When do you hear about them? The fact is, and I'm talking authoritatively, I have worked as a commissioner for inspectorate. So I've had time to know, and I've studied the subject. The inspectorates in Uganda have been killed by the very ministries which are supposed to make them grow. And that's because they have never been made independent. As long as you don't have inspectorates or standard setters and monitors of standards, you will not get service delivery. So equally in schools, how many times in 7 years of P7 primary school will a class be visited? How many times was your class visited and somebody sat there to watch how you were being taught? The phenomena is amazing.
We all see roads that get built and within months they're falling apart. Why are they falling apart? Because they were designed badly, they were built badly, and that happens because these contracts are not supervised, or the contractors that get contracts are actually forced to give loads of kickbacks and bribes to whoever is awarding the contracts. We all know these stories.
There's one company called Max, which was awarded before I came along to fix a road. Now it was not a very big contract. I think $300,000 or something. But they were basically supposed to patch the potholes and fix the sides of the road and clean the drainage channels, and so they got this contract. They didn't have the capacity to fulfill that contract. And in the end of the day, you know, that was half done, it was badly done, and we're now following on, now fixing all the road up again. The road's completely broken out again. Such lack of capacity is generally related to someone within the public sector who says, I've got this contract, do you want to do it? And then they take a bribe. In the end of the day, the money that's allocated to that company to do it is insufficient. Okay, then the government paying slowly, and they're not meeting deadlines and so on and so forth.
Again, you have a failure there. Now, I don't suppose that the NRM or even President Museveni have a solution to this. 27 years is a long time, and I think they have had enough time to demonstrate their inability to change these things, and they have to adopt a new strategy.
I don't see evidence of thinking going on in the high places. You have people called economists, I don't know, Minister of Finance, Bank of Uganda. Yeah, they have PhDs and masters in economics. But these are exalted clerks who know how to fill in and implement a certain template handed to them by maybe World Bank, IMF. But can you tell me of any evidence that they have done some creative thinking to help Uganda harness all its resources? No, 10% of its resources to become a better place. So how can you rely on them to deliver this country to another level? They are part of the problem. As Ansel said, you cannot solve today's problem with the level of thinking that created it.
Nyacha Stephen Atela Kigulo and Ganmamia Nana ke Uganda wa enene mono yo medugulu town ge yo mabe because we take golo meduong ka karo chwene dong yelo chalo dano chalo ngwe kiguri no dugu teko, especially chalo one border.
Certain services that are very essential to the community, actually the citizens of the country, like the roads, education and health. Most of these services have faced a terrible decline. Like the roads have a lot of potholes. Even if they try to reconstruct them and widen them, find that still they construct the small lane roads, like a 2-lane road instead of widening it. Then via the health sector, we've seen like the main challenge our health sector is facing is that there is a lot of brain drain.
The government should try to cut down brain drain, whereby if we take a case study of the teachers in Uganda, most of them have left Uganda for Rwanda because Rwanda pays better off than Uganda. So I think the government should come around and then try to increase on their salary.
Uganda's next door neighbor, Rwanda, has committed to building public institutions that are effective, efficient, and accountable, and that deliver for the Rwandan people while working towards eradicating poverty and creating economic prosperity.
Rwanda is very different from Uganda. First, I think the President Museveni is a great strategic thinker, but I don't think he's a good manager. Most people think Museveni's problem is because he micromanages. In fact, I think he does not manage. He manages by abdication. Because if I was President Museveni, I would say every week on Monday, I'll have 4 meetings. In the morning on health, another on education, another on roads, another on agriculture. Only 4, every month of the week. For people in roads, I will ask, we were supposed to build a road from here to there. What has happened? What is the quality? If you keep holding people to account on a daily basis like that, you'll be able to achieve outcomes. But the president can spend 2 years without meeting people in the ministry in the road sector. So management by abdication means that individual actors in UNRWA and the Ministry of Works are at liberty to do as they wish at the pace they choose. And because he does not have constant monitoring of the progress they are doing, then he loses his plot. So he can think of big infrastructural projects, but he's incapable of realizing them because he needs short-term management skills to ensure that he delivers on that. Now, I think at President Kagame has very good management ability. He is able to hold people to account on a weekly basis to ensure that they deliver against clearly stated national goals.
Now, across the border, because it's an autocracy, when the top autocrat, the president, says, we will do this program, then his public servants and the people in the public sector, they just say, yes, sir. And they get on with it. Why? Because they're in fear. It's not, you know, they're motivated to do it, yes, for the good of their country, but also because of fear. Because they know if they don't do it, they will get in trouble. But here, we have people walking off with large sums of money. You know, then we have all kinds of stuff happening. It gets in the newspapers. But there isn't a lot of consequences for a lot of this thieving, and certainly for somebody who goes into a public sector job and doesn't do anything, there's no consequences at all. So until we actually get some focus and some consequences for not doing your job, then we're going to be lost as far as the public sector is concerned.
If you go to Rwanda, they have the same problems of understaffing, they have the same problems of difficulties in procurement of all kinds of things because Rwanda's economy is a small one. However, you go to rural Rwanda, you'll find cases of absenteeism don't exist in rural Rwanda. I have been there, have spent a great deal of time in Rwanda studying their primary healthcare system. Health workers are supposed to turn up at 8 a.m. in the morning. You go to any clinic in Rwanda at 8 a.m., it will be open. They're supposed to leave work after 3. You go to Rwanda at 3 p.m., you'll find them open. It's not the same thing in Uganda. I was reading a newspaper yesterday where people in Nakaseke were demonstrating because the healthcare facility they have there doesn't open on time and the nurses don't turn up. I haven't encountered those instances in Rwanda. And as I told you, I've been studying our healthcare system here for 15 years. I've only been studying Rwanda's for the last 3 years, and I haven't seen the same problems that I see here. I've not encountered a single clinic in rural Rwanda that doesn't have the basic medicines. I haven't seen it. Now, they may not have the best of equipment, but they do have the basic equipment that they need. Now, yesterday again, I was talking to a friend of mine who was in Mulago a few days ago. Now, you go to Mulago and see the crisis there. Patients lie on the floor, they lie under the beds, there are no beds, there's nothing in Mulago. Mulago is creaking under a huge weight of patients that go there. There's no infrastructure to manage. I haven't seen any similar scenes in any Rwandan hospital I've been to, and I've been to several, right from Kigali to the deepest parts of rural Rwanda. I haven't seen the really abysmal scenes that I see in hospitals here.
Once I had a lively conversation with Andrew Mwenda, and he was convinced that Kagame is better than Museveni as a leader because Kagame has delivered public service and Museveni has failed. My thinking was Museveni actually understands what he's doing more than Kagame. Because if you give people good roads, that is their right. People deserve good roads. So they will tell you, thank you very much, but please retire. You've done your bit, so go. Same applies to if you gave them hospitals and schools and so on. You are doing what you are supposed to do. They shouldn't thank you for it. Museveni knows, has no respect for the people of Uganda. Zero respect. All he needs is to stay in power. So he's going to use a patronage system. He pays people who will keep him in power, full stop. His ministers don't mind driving their cars in potholed roads. They don't. They don't mind sitting in offices which are leaking, whose roofs are leaking. All they have to do is to keep him in power. His members, his party members of parliament, don't have to debate in parliament. They only have to fall asleep and wake up to vote. That's what he wants. He doesn't want people who work hard, who deliver services. No. If you deliver services, people will ask you for more. And who knows, there's no end to more.
When Turning Round Uganda returns.
In Uganda, since the public sector is not delivering and the private sector is doing some good, the alternative policy could be a public-private partnership, or PPP. And that is the case study of Lesotho.
Daily Monitor, a paper dedicated to bringing you the truth every day.